They walked their children to the shore at sunrise. By noon, the shore no longer existed. Salt hit the air first, that sharp metallic bite you feel before you see the water. Then the sound, not a wave, a roar, a wall, moving faster than any horse had ever run across a plain that had existed for 4,000 years. Families vanished, not in hours, not in days, in minutes. Villages built over generations, gone. Hunting trails worn into the earth by 10,000 feet, erased. And the people who survived looked back at where their home had been and saw nothing but gray water stretching to the horizon. Nothing. No shore, no hill, no smoke from morning fires, just the North Sea, where a continent used to stand. How do you mourn a land? How do you bury what was swallowed whole? At its peak, Doggerland was not a coastline, it was a world, stretching from what we now call eastern England to the shores of Norway and Denmark. This was one of the most fertile, most densely inhabited landscapes in all of Mesolithic Europe. A broad, river-laced lowland the size of a modern nation, crossed by elk herds, lined with fish-heavy rivers, and home to some of the earliest permanently settled communities in the Northern Hemisphere. The Yare River, the Leman Bank, the Brown Bank Ridge, these were not ocean floor. These were the heartlands of a civilization that left no written record, only the tools and bones the North Sea has been quietly returning to trawler nets for a century. In 1931, a fishing vessel dredged up a barbed antler harpoon point, 20,000 years old, from 30 meters beneath the surface. It had been there, preserved in anaerobic silt, waiting. More than 100 similar artifacts have followed, each one a message from a world the sea tried to erase. Doggerland's population, at its height around 7,000 BC, may have numbered in the tens of thousands. These were not scattered nomads. Archaeologists at the University of St. Andrews have mapped settlement patterns suggesting semi-permanent villages along river confluences, with trade routes connecting coastal fishing communities to inland hunting grounds. Children grew up knowing the paths through the marsh grass. Elders knew which riverbanks flooded in spring, which hills stayed dry. This was accumulated, lived-in knowledge, the kind that takes generations to build. The land fed them well. Hazel woodland covered the upland ridges. Saltwater marshes along the proto-coastline supplied eel, seal, and migratory waterfowl in quantities no inland site could match. Red deer bones appear consistently in excavated middens alongside wild boar, beaver, and aurochs. These were people who understood their ecosystem at a molecular level, who had mapped every seasonal resource across hundreds of square miles. They had no reason to fear the sea. The sea had always been part of the landscape, a partner, a provider. But deep beneath the Norwegian continental shelf, something had been building for centuries, something with no name, something that didn't care. The Storegga Slide, Storegga, from the Old Norse, the Great Edge. On a geological scale, it had been inevitable, a submarine landslide, the largest in recorded geological history, destabilized approximately 290 cubic kilometers of seafloor sediment off the Norwegian coast. That's 290 cubic kilometers. Picture every mountain in the Scottish Highlands dissolved into liquid and dropped into the ocean simultaneously. The displacement was instantaneous. The result was not a wave, it was a series of tsunami waves. Some estimates place the height at 25 to 25 meters by the time they reached the Doggerland coastline. 25 meters, the height of an 8-story building moving at the speed of a commercial aircraft across open water. Geologists at Durham University found the evidence in peat deposits along the Scottish and Norwegian coasts, a thin, dark layer of marine sediment sitting precisely where it should not be, pressed between layers of freshwater peat. A dark horizontal line in the earth, the watermark of a catastrophe. Radiocarbon dating placed it precisely, approximately 6,200 BC, a Tuesday, perhaps, a morning like any other. The date was June. Palynological evidence from cores drilled at the Doggerland Bank suggests summer vegetation was active. People would have been on the shore, fishing, trading. Children would have been near the water. The tsunami arrived without sound first. The water pulled back. Witnesses along elevated ground would have seen it recede impossibly far, exposing tidal flats and trapped fish in shocking, sudden abundance. Some ran towards it. They thought it was a gift. Then the wave came. Contemporary analogs suggest the first Storegga wave reached inland distances of up to 80 kilometers across flat coastal terrain. 80 kilometers! Doggerland had no mountains, no high ground, no escarpment to slow it. The river valleys, the same valleys that had channeled food and connection for 4,000 years, became the paths of fastest inland penetration. The water followed the routes the people had followed. It knew the land as well as they did. Submerged forest evidence recovered from the Norfolk coast, Cardigan Bay, and the Severn Estuary contains Mesolithic tree stumps still rooted in their original soil, standing dead in tidal zones, drowned where they grew. The land didn't break, it disappeared. Bodies do not survive 6,000 years of tidal movement, but archaeological modeling by a team at the Tromsø University Museum estimates the catastrophic inundation killed a minimum of several thousand people within hours, possibly tens of thousands across the broader region over the following months, as secondary flooding, saltwater contamination of freshwater sources, and ecosystem collapse made the remaining lowlands uninhabitable. Starvation, not the wave, likely killed the majority. The wave was only the beginning. Survivors who reached high ground, the chalk ridges of what would become southern England, the limestone uplands of what would become Denmark, looked back at a changed world. The rivers they had crossed on foot were now tidal channels. The hunting grounds were brine marshes. The paths that connected families across the lowland plain were gone beneath water that would within 2 centuries become the permanent North Sea. Britain became an island, not by continental drift, not slowly, in a morning. The cultural rupture is difficult to overstate. These communities had no word for what had happened, no precedent, no mythology prepared them for the erasure of land itself. Archaeologists have noted a measurable shift in Mesolithic material culture in Britain following 6200 BC, a sudden disruption in the continuity of tool-making traditions, a fragmentation of previously interconnected settlement networks. The survivors rebuilt, but they rebuilt differently, more defensively, further inland. The sea was no longer a partner. And the things they left behind, they remain. The Doggerland Bank, now a North Sea fishing ground 25 to 35 meters below the surface, still yields worked flint, burnt bone, and hazelnut shells, the debris of daily life, whenever trawlers drag deep enough. In 2019, a research team aboard the Belgica recovered a Mesolithic hearth feature from the seabed, a ring of fire-cracked stones, still arranged, still waiting. 6,000 years on the ocean floor, someone's fire preserved. For centuries, Doggerland was dismissed, a curiosity in geological footnotes, a blank on maps where cartographers ran out of interest. Then oil platform surveys in the 1990s began returning unexpected sonar images, riverbeds, coastlines, hill features, all beneath the North Sea. Seismic reflection data from the 2000s allowed researchers to reconstruct for the first time the full topography of a lost continent. What they found
matched settlement logic perfectly. The rivers ran towards the sea the way rivers run towards the sea today. The hills offered shelter the way hills still offer shelter. The land made sense for people. We live in an era of coastlines under discussion, of maps being redrawn, of places that exist today that may not exist by the names we call them in 50 years. And the machinery driving those changes has no face, no name, no address. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't pause. It simply arrives, first as a slow pullback of the familiar, then as something moving faster than anyone planned for. Does that feel like ancient history? The people of Doggerland built on land so rich they had no reason to imagine it ending. They built their fires on ground that had been solid for 10,000 years.